Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
What's up, everyone, and welcome. This is the Cybersecurity Weekly Review, where we take a look at all the security events that happened in the last week. Let's jump right in. We start off with a flaw in Microsoft's Azure Cosmos DB database, that product that left more than 3,300 Azure customers open to complete unrestricted access by attackers. The vulnerability was introduced in 2019 when Microsoft added a data visualization feature called Jupyter Notebook to Cosmos DB. The feature was turned on by default for all Cosmos DBs in February 2020. Now, a listing of Azure Cosmos DB clients includes companies like Coca-Cola, Liberty Mutual Insurance, ExxonMobil, and Walgreens, just to name a few. According to researchers at Wiz, any Azure customer could access another customer's account without authentication. The bug, dubbed ChaosDB, could be trivially exploited and impacts thousands of organizations, including numerous Fortune 500 companies like I just mentioned above. The issue exists in the Jupyter Notebook feature of Cosmos DB, according to the analysis. Jupyter Notebook is an open-source web application that allows users to create and share documents that contain live code, equations, visualizations, and narrative text. Wiz researchers found that by querying information about a target Cosmos DB Jupyter Notebook, it's possible to snag credentials for not just the Jupyter Notebook compute instance and the Jupyter Notebook storage account of another user, but also the Cosmos DB account itself, including the account's primary read-write key used to encrypt it. Using these credentials, it is possible to view, modify, and delete data in the target Cosmos DB account via multiple channels, according to Wiz. There are not many details about the bug because the Wiz isn't providing further technical details beyond the fact that ChaosDB is actually made up of a string of vulnerabilities that can be chained together, but it did provide an attack diagram. Now, if you want to see the attack diagram or the video of the demo that they did or more information about this, you can click the link above to watch the full episode that I created. To mitigate the risk, Microsoft has advised customers to regenerate the Cosmos DB primary keys out of an abundance of caution. Also noted that Azure Cosmos DB accounts with a VNet or that are firewall enabled are protected by additional security mechanisms that prevent risk of unauthorized access. Wiz researchers who earned a 40,000 bug bounty for finding the issue added that all users should review all past activity in their Cosmos DB accounts. Now, this is just the latest security nightmare for Microsoft. The company had some of its source code stolen by Solaris hackers at the end of December. Its Exchange email servers were breached and implicated in ransomware attacks in March. And a recent print flaw allowed attackers to take over computers with system-level privileges. But with the world's data increasingly moving to centralized cloud services like Azure, this revelation could be the most troubling development yet for Microsoft.
Come out and get the nice carrot, pretty Bonnie.
We move on to patches. Atlassian released security patches to address a critical vulnerability tracked as CVE 2021-26084, affecting the Confluence Enterprise Collaboration product. The flaw is an OGNL injection issue that can be exploited by an authenticated attacker to execute arbitrary code on affected Confluence server and data center instances. An OGNL injection vulnerability exists that would allow an authenticated user, and in some instances unauthenticated user, to execute arbitrary code on a Confluence server or data center instance, reads the advisory published by Atlassian. The vulnerability received a CVSS score of 9.8, and it affected versions less than 6.1.3.23, versions greater than 6.14.0 and less than 7.4.11, versions greater than 7.5.0 and less than 7.11.5, and then versions greater than 7.12.0 and less than 7.12.5. Cisco has released security updates to address a critical security vulnerability tracked as CVE 2021-1577 in the Application Policy Infrastructure Protocol APIC interface used in its Nexus 9000 series switches. The vulnerability could be exploited to read or write arbitrary files on a vulnerable system. The vulnerability is due to improper access control. An unauthenticated remote attacker could exploit the issue to upload a file to the appliances. They say, vulnerability in an API endpoint of Cisco Application Policy Infrastructure Controller and Cisco Cloud Application Policy Infrastructure Controller could allow an unauthenticated remote attacker to read or write arbitrary files on an infected system. This vulnerability is due to improper access control. An attacker could exploit this vulnerability by using a specific API endpoint to upload a file to an affected device. A successful exploit could allow the attacker to read or write arbitrary files on an affected device. Now, the Cisco Application Policy Infrastructure Controller is the single point of policy and management of a Cisco application-centric infrastructure fabric. This vulnerability affects Cisco Application Policy Infrastructure Controller and Cisco Cloud APIC. The company states that there are no workarounds that address this issue. VMware addressed multiple vulnerabilities in vRealize operations, including 4 high-severity flaws. The most severe flaw, tracked as CVE 2021-22025, with a CVSS score of 8.6, is a broken access control vulnerability in the vRealize Operations Manager API. An attacker could exploit the vulnerability to gain unauthenticated API access. They say the vRealize Operations Manager API contains a broken access control vulnerability leading to unauthenticated API access. VMware has evaluated the severity of this issue to be in the important severity range with a maximum CVSS version 3 base score of 8.6. An unauthenticated malicious actor with network access to the vRealize Operations Manager API can add new nodes to existing VROPS clusters. The other high-severity flaws addressed by the company are CVE 2021-22024 with the CVSS score of 7.5, which is arbitrary log file read vulnerability in the vRealize Operations Manager API, and CVE 2021-22026, as well as CVE 2021-22027, with both with CVSS scores of 7.5, and that relates to a server-side request forgery in vRealize Operations Manager API. VMware also addressed an insecure direct object reference vulnerability in vRealize Operations Manager API, tracked as CVE 2021-22023 with a CVSS score of 6.6 that could be exploited by a malicious actor with administrative access to vRealize Operations Manager API to modify other users' information, leading to an account takeover. Other issues addressed by the company impacted VMware Cloud Foundation and vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager. F5, or the security vendor F5, has addressed more than a dozen high-severity vulnerabilities in its big IP network device, including an issue that was considered as critical severity when exploited under specific conditions. The flaw tracked to CVE 2021-23031 is a privilege escalation issue on Big IP Advanced Web Application Firewall and Application Security Manager Traffic Management User Interface. An unauthenticated attacker with access to the configuration utility can trigger the flaw to execute arbitrary system commands, create or delete files, and or disable services. The issue could allow an attacker to completely compromise the network device. The flaw received a severity score of 8.8, but according to the security advisory for customers using the appliance mode, which applies some technical restrictions, the severity score raises to 9.9 out of 10. According to the security advisory for CVE 2021-23031, only a limited number of customers are impacted by the issue in a critical mode. The vendor recommends updating the device. Where it's not possible, admins should limit access to the configuration utility only to completely trusted users. We move on to attacks, vulnerabilities, and updates. GETTR, a social media platform similar to Twitter, but frequented by people who don't feel welcome on Twitter, officially launched on July 4th, 2021. If you recall, it's basically this whole freedom of speech, Twitter's locking down on fake news and Trump supporters and all this kind of that. So somebody created the GETTR, and all these people kind of moved over to GETTR. It was hacked on that same day, the launch day, July 4th. A hacker calling himself at Juba Baghdad subsequently dumped a database claiming that it contained a scrape of thousands of GETTR users. Now, on August 25th, databreaches.net was alerted to a leak by another user, or a Twitter user, at pompompur_in, who had discovered 2 GETTR-related leaks by searching Shodan. I was randomly looking up stuff on Shodan and came across an instance where GETTR has left a database UI page open and I can see some API logs, he explained. IP addresses, usernames, what people are searching for or viewing, he added. Minutes later, he reported finding another instance, but it was a dev instance, he noted. The dev instance contained more personal information on users, including messages, users' email addresses, and administrator account actions such as who was being banned, etc. To make things even more of a facepalm, the developer's instance had been attacked and ransomed by a MongoDB bot that left a readme to recover your data message. So if you happen to be registered with GETTR, I would expect my data to have been stolen.
Forgive me, my friend. Do you like Blackberry Pie?
No. Did you say Blackberry Pie? Yummy. We'll have some.
Or leaked. EskyFun. So, VPN Mentors researchers discovered that the Chinese mobile gaming company EskyFun suffered a data breach. Information of over 1 million gamers were exposed on an unsecured server. EskyFun developed several Android games, including Rainbow Story, Fantasy MMORPG, Adventure Story, The Legend of the Three Kingdoms, and Metamorph M. The games affected in the data leak were Rainbow Story, Fantasy MMORPG with 500,000 plus downloads, Metamorph M with 100,000 plus downloads, and Dynasty Heroes Legends of Samcock with 1 million plus downloads. EskyFun's server was storing a rolling log of the previous 7 days, user records from 3 separate games. At the end of each day, any data older than 7 days was automatically deleted to make room for fresh data, reads the report. As a result, our investigation focuses on just 7 days worth of data and any players exposed in that short window. However, despite only covering 7 days, the server still contained over 360 million records from players. And this is an enormous amount of data collected from a few small, not well-known mobile games. A group of researchers from the Swiss ETH Zurich University has discovered a vulnerability that allowed them to bypass PIN codes on contactless cards from Mastercard and Maestro. Technically, the researchers performed a man-in-the-middle attack between a stolen card and the merchant's point-of-sale terminal. In a real attack scenario, crooks could use a victim's contactless card to make expensive purchases without knowing the card's PIN. Concretely, the attacker fools the terminal into believing that the card being used is a Visa card, and then applies the recent PIN bypass attack that was reported on or was created for Visa. We have built an Android application and successfully used it to carry out this attack for transactions with both MasterCard debit and credit cards, including a transaction for over $400 with a Maestro debit card. Finally, we extend our formal model of the EMV contactless protocol to machine check fixes to the issues found. The attack was implemented using 2 Android smartphones supporting NFC and running Android 4.4 KitKat or later that were connected through a relay channel built using TCP/IP server client communication over Wi-Fi. One phone runs an app in point-of-sale emulator mode, and the other phone runs the app developed by the researchers in card emulator mode. The device running in card emulator mode must support Android's host-based card emulation so that the phone can launch the NFC payment service implemented by the other phone, or by the app. The man-in-the-middle functionality runs on the point-of-sale emulator device, which the card emulator acts as the proxy for the relay channel. Now get this. The attack scenario is simple. That didn't read very simple, did it? The attackers place point-of-sale emulator device near the card in order to trick the card into initiating a transaction and capture the transaction details, while the card emulator is used by crooks to feed modified transaction details to a real-life point-of-sale terminal inside a store. Now, the same team of researchers last year devised a method to bypass PINs on Visa contactless payments and used the Visa technique as part of this new attack. It was used to fool the terminal into believing that the card being used is a Visa instead of a Maestro. The researchers successfully tested the attack against Visa credit card, Visa debit, Visa Electron, and VPay cards, complete transactions of an amount above the PIN requirement limit for Swiss banks. Researchers at industrial and Internet of Things cybersecurity firm Nozomo Networks have discovered a critical flaw affecting a video surveillance product made by Annke, a popular manufacturer of surveillance systems and solutions. The vulnerability tracked as CVE 2021-32941 can be exploited by an attacker to hack a video surveillance product made by Annke, a provider of home and business security solutions. Annke produces a variety of IP cameras, NVRs, and accessories, but researchers focused their analysis on the N48 PBB NVR device that allows customers to view and record footage of up to 8 Power over Internet IP security cameras. The N48 PBB NVR exposes a web application that allows interaction with the device and the connected cameras. The device allows customers to watch live video streams, manage cameras, and store video captured by cameras. The flaw is a stack-based buffer overflow that affects the web service of the Annke N48 PBB network video recorder. An attacker can trigger it to remotely execute arbitrary code and access sensitive information. The issue can allow an attacker to access recorded videos, delete footage, change configurations, and shut down certain cameras. experts pointed out that the exploitation of the vulnerability requires authentication, but an attacker could use cross-site request forgery as an attack. The attacker could trick a logged-in user, operator, or administrator to access a specially crafted web page while being logged into the NVR's admin interface. Cybersecurity researchers from McAfee disclosed 5 vulnerabilities in Braun's Infusomat space large volume pump and SpaceStation that could be exploited by threat actors to alter medication doses. The flawed devices are used in both adult and pediatric medical facilities. The research was conducted with the support of Kalinda, a trusted leader in medical cybersecurity. The 5 previously unreported vulnerabilities in the medical system are CVE 2021-33886, which is a use of externally controlled format string with a CVSS score of 7.7. CVE 2021-33885, which is insufficient verification of data authenticity with a CVS score of 9.7. CVE 2021-33882, which is missing authentication for critical functions with a CVS score of 8.2. CVE 2021-33883, which is clear text transmission of sensitive information with a CVSS score of 7.1, and CVE 2021-33884, which is unrestricted upload of file with dangerous type with a CVSS score of 5.8. These vulnerabilities could be chained to modify a pump's configuration while the device is in standby mode. This will cause an unexpected dose of medication to be delivered to a patient in its next use. An attacker doesn't need any authentication to conduct this attack. The US CISA published 5 malware analysis reports related to samples found on compromised PulseSecure devices. So as part of the CISA's ongoing response to PulseSecure compromises, CISA has analyzed 5 malware samples related to exploited PulseSecure devices. CISA encourages users and administrators to review the following 5 malware analysis reports, MARs, for threat actor tactics, techniques, and procedures, and indicators of compromise, and review CISA's alert exploitation of Pulse Connect secure vulnerabilities for more information. The 5 documents are MAR 10333-243, MAR 10334-057, 1033935, 1033841, and 1039606. The documents include details on the tactics, techniques, and procedures employed by threat actors, along with indicators of compromise for the attack. Threat actors are targeting Pulse Connect secure VPN devices, exploiting multiple flaws, including CVE 2021-22893 and CVE 2021-22937. CVE 2021-22893 is a buffer overflow issue in Pulse Connect Secure Collaboration Suite prior to version B9.1711.4 that allows remote authenticated attackers to execute arbitrary code as their root user via maliciously crafted meeting rooms. According to coordinated reports published by FireEye and PulseSecure in May, 2 hacking groups have exploited the zero-day vulnerability in PulseSecure VPN equipment to break into the networks of U.S. defense contractors and government organizations worldwide. CVE 2021-22937 is a high-severity remote code execution vulnerability that resides in the admin web interface of a Pulse Connect Secure. A remote attacker could exploit the flaw to overwrite arbitrary files and gain code execution with root privileges. The flaw received a CVSS score of 9.1, and experts pointed out that it results from a bypass of the patch released in October 2020 to address the CVE 2020-8260 issue. Ivanti fixed this critical code execution issue in Pulse Connect Secure VPN earlier this month. The Swiss town of Raleigh disclosed a data breach after a ransomware attack whereby personal details of all of its 6,200 inhabitants were stolen by threat actors. The threat actors compromised some administrative servers and exfiltrated sensitive documents. Initially, the municipal government in the town downplayed the incident, saying that attackers stole only a small amount of data and that all the information had been restored from backup copies. Immediately after the attack, the town administrative chief, Monique Cholet-Punale, told the Swiss Daily 24 Hours that it was a weak attack that impacted email servers that did not contain any sensitive municipal data. The attack was orchestrated by the Vice Society ransomware group, which hit Lake Geneva. Now, representatives of the Raleigh municipality issued a statement that later admitted it underestimated the severity of the attack, the potential uses of the data. The town had set up a task force of experts to handle the incident. At the time of this writing, it is not clear which kinds of information had been exfiltrated by the attackers, but local media reported that compromised data included names, addresses, dates of birth, social security numbers, and residency permit information for non-Swiss nationals. Le Temps Daily reported that the stolen data also included school records, along with information about children who had contacted COVID-19. An emerging international cyber gang is broadening its targets to include North American media firms, universities, and one computer retailer. The Advanced Persistent Threat Group is new, according to researchers who dubbed it Sparkling Goblin. Also new is a novel backdoor technique called Sidewalk, used by the APT group to penetrate cybersecurity defenses. Sparkling Goblin, according to ESET researchers who named and discovered the crime group and the backdoor, is an offshoot of an APT group called Winty, first identified in 2013 by Kaspersky. ESET also said in a Tuesday report that the Sidewalk backdoor is similar to one used by Winty called Crosswalk. Crosswalk and Sidewalk, according to ESET, are both modular backdoors used to exfiltrate system information and that can run shellcode sent by the command and control server. In its initial campaign, Sparkling Goblin is believed to be after usernames and passwords and IP addresses for a U.S. computer retailer as well as Canadian schools. The group has mostly targeted the academic sectors in East and Southeast Asia. To get the full story about Sparkling Goblin, watch my daily episode on this particular issue, if you haven't already, of course. The link is above. The financially motivated threat actor, Fin8, has been observed employing a previously undetected backdoor dubbed Sardonyk on infected systems. The new backdoor was spotted by researchers from cybersecurity firm Bitdefender. It was discovered while investigating an unsuccessful attack carried out by Fin8 aimed at an unnamed financial institution in the US. Sardonyk is a sophisticated backdoor that supports a wide range of features that was designed to evade detection. According to the experts, Sardonyk is a project still under development and includes several components, some of which were compiled just before the attack. The group has been active since 2016. It leverages known malware such as PunchTrack and BadHatch to infect point-of-sale systems and steal payment card data. The activity of the group was spotted in March after more than a year of apparent inactivity. The group focuses on organizations in the insurance, retail, technology, and chemical industries in the US, Canada, South Africa, Puerto Rico, Panama, and Italy. In the most recent attack, investigated by Bitdefender, the group conducted reconnaissance on the target network to gather information to use in the attack and conduct lateral movement and privilege escalation. The group also employed their BadHatch backdoor, which was deployed using PowerShell scripts. Shiny Hunters Group claims to have a database containing private information on roughly 70 million AT&T customers, but the company denies that they've been stolen from its system. I mean, AT&T is denying it. Shiny Hunters is a popular hacking crew that is known to have offered for sale data stolen from tens of major organizations including Tokopedia, Home Chef, Chatbooks.com, Microsoft, and Minted. Now the group is asking for $1 million for the entire database or $200,000 for access, according to the Restore Privacy website that examined a sample that appears authentic. While we cannot yet confirm the data is from AT&T customers, everything we examined appears to be valid, reads the Restore Privacy website. Here is the data that is available in this leak: name, phone number, physical address, email address, social security number, and date of birth. The threat actors claim that data belonged to AT&T customers in the United States. The group told Restore Privacy that they are available to support AT&T to secure its systems for a reward. Again, AT&T denies the breach. Researchers from Kaspersky spotted a modified version of WhatsApp for Android, which offers extra features, but which installs the Triada Trojan on devices. WhatsApp users sometimes look for mods that offer extra features such as animated themes, self-destructing messages which automatically delete themselves, the option of hiding certain conversations from the main list, automatic translation of messages. Now, these modified versions of the popular instant messaging app usually contain ads. The version discovered by Kaspersky is called FM WhatsApp 16.80.0 Together. Experts also discovered the advertising software development kit that included the downloader for the malicious payload. The Trojan Triada snuck into one of these modified versions of the messenger called FM WhatsApp 16.80.0 Together with the advertising software development kit, reads the analysis published by Kaspersky. This is similar to what happened with APK Pure, where the only malicious code that was embedded in the app was a payload downloader. Upon launching the app, it'll gather unique device identifiers like device IDs, subscriber IDs, MAC addresses, and the name of the app package where they're deployed. These data are sent to a remote server to register the device, which in turn responds by sending a link to a payload, which the Triada Trojan downloads, decrypts, and launches. The malicious payload could be used to conduct a wide range of malicious activity, including downloading additional modules, stealthy subscription for the victims to premium services, and signing into WhatsApp accounts on the device. The attackers can also take control of the WhatsApp account and spread spam sent on behalf of the actual victims. The OpenSSL project released the OpenSSL 1.1.1L version that addresses a high-severity buffer overflow flaw tracked as CVE 2021-3711 that could allow an attacker to change an application's behavior or cause the app to crash. The vulnerability ties the decryption of SM2 encrypted data. The changes depend on the targeted application and data it maintains, in other words, credentials, in the heap while the issue is exploited. The flaw affects versions prior to 1.1.1. It was discovered by John Oyang. Thank you, John. OpenSSL projects also fixed a medium-severity vulnerability tracked to CVE 2021-3712 that can be exploited by attackers to trigger a denial-of-service condition. The flaw could also result in the disclosure of private memory content, such as private keys or sensitive plaintext. The vulnerability affects versions 1.1.1 to 1.1.1k and was fixed in OpenSSL 1.1.1j and 1.0.2 ZA. Research conducted by UpGuard showed that a concerning number of Power App users were not securing their databases. Further investigation revealed that this issue was created by a weak default security settings from Microsoft, leaving data exposed if users took no manual action to change those permissions. According to a report from Wired, data was left exposed from sources like American Airlines, Ford, New York City Public Schools, and multiple states' COVID-19 contact tracing databases. The initial discovery by UpGuard was made in May 2021, but a fix from Microsoft wasn't fully rolled out until August. The core of the problem lies in default security settings in the Microsoft application. For example, when setting up the Power App and connecting APIs, the platform defaulted to make corresponding data publicly accessible. Exposed data included several COVID-19 contact tracing platforms, vaccination signups, job application portals, and employee databases. Anything from social security numbers to names and addresses were left in open databases. Again, I covered this story in my daily, so check it out. Here is the link to that episode. A never-before-seen, zero-click iMessaging exploit has been allegedly used to illegally spy on Bahraini activists with NSO Group's Pegasus Spyware, according to cybersecurity watchdog Citizen Lab. The digital researchers are calling the new iMessaging exploit forced entry. In a report published on Tuesday, researchers said that they've identified 9 Bahraini activists whose iPhones were inflicted with Pegasus spyware between June 2020 and February 2021. Some of the activists' phones suffered zero-click iMessage attacks that, besides forced entry, also included the 2020 Kismet exploit. The activists included 3 members of WAD, a secular Bahraini political society, 3 members of the Bahrain Center for Human Rights, 2 exiled Bahraini dissidents, and 1 member of Al-Wafaq, a Shiite Bahraini political society, Citizen Lab wrote. Apple says it is an expensive hack to do, so the average person like you or me has nothing to worry about. Now, watch my episode on this story to get my real reaction to that statement. The link is above. Envision Credit Union may have been the latest victim of an apparent ransomware attack. Initial signs of a potential attack surfaced this week on social media and indicated the Lockbit 2.0 ransomware group threatened to publish stolen data on August 30th, according to Dotminer, a New York-based company that uses artificial intelligence to alert potential breaches. The Tallahassee Democrat emailed several questions to Envision administrators about the potential cyber attack, and what did they get as a response? The spokesperson will only confirm of technical difficulties and an event. We move on to other security news. The criminal organizations behind the 4PX botnet have shut down their operations and put the source code of their bot for sale on a cybercrime forum on the dark web.
Exit! Odds bots can sing all the way! Stage left!
The news was reported by The Record after experts from security firm Cyjax noticed an ad posted by a crook that was involved in the botnet's operation in the past. The decision to sell the source code comes from the consideration that the 2 original authors of the malware have left the operations. As I no longer work, and my friend has left the biz, I'm here to offer Trick, which is the name from the coder. 4px is the name given to it by antivirus firms. I'm here to offer the source for sale, the individual said in a forum post spotted by British security firm Cyjax. The main bot and all modules are written in C++. Authors claim that the bot nor modules trigger any firewall or UIC prompts. Now, it was pointed out that even if the command and control servers for the botnet are down right now, whoever buys the code will be able to set up new ones and take control over the previously infected systems. There's no number currently of how many infected systems there are. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has released a flash alert on the Hive ransomware attacks that includes technical details and indicators of compromise associated with the operations of the gang. Recently, the group hit the Memorial Health System that was forced to suspend some of its operations. Hive ransomware has been active since June 2021. It implements a ransomware as a service model and employs a wide variety of tactics, techniques, and procedures. Government experts state that the group uses multiple mechanisms to compromise networks of victims, including phishing emails with malicious attachments to gain access and remote desktop protocol to move laterally once on the network. In order to facilitate file encryption, the ransomware looks for processes associated with backups, antivirus or anti-spyware, and file copying, and then it terminates them. The Hive ransomware adds the .hive extension to the file name of the encrypted files. The ransomware then drops a hive.bat script into the directory, which enforces an execution timeout delay of 1 second before performing cleanup once the encryption process is completed. The malware deletes the Hive executable and the hive.bat script. A second file, shadow.bat, is dropped into the directory and is used by ransomware operators to delete shadow copies and delete the shadow.bat file itself once the operation is completed. During the encryption process, encrypted files are renamed with the double final extension of .key.hive or .key.star. The ransomware note, how to decrypt text, is dropped into each affected directory and states the key file cannot be modified, renamed, or deleted, otherwise the encryption files cannot be recovered. That's how the FBI's alert read. The note contains a sales department link accessible through a Tor browser, enabling victims to contact the actors through a live chat. Some victims reported receiving phone calls from Hive actors requesting payment for their files. The Ragnarok or Asnarok ransomware gang shut down their operation today and released a free decryptor or encryption utility to help victims recover their files. Actually, it was last week. The free decryptor, hard-coded with a master decryption key, was released on the gang's dark web portal, where the group previously used to publish files from victims who refused to pay. The gang operated by using exploits to breach a target company's network and perimeter devices, from where it would pivot to internal networks and encrypt crucial servers and workstations. To improve its chances of getting paid, the Ragnarok gang also stole files from victim networks, which it threatened to leak on its dark web portal unless the ransom was paid on time. The group historically targeted Citrix ADC gateways and was also behind the campaign that exploited a 0-day in the Sophos XG firewalls. Samsung TV sets can be remotely disabled by the vendor using a built-in feature dubbed TV Block. The company revealed the capability to disable any device worldwide in a press release issued earlier this month in response to the numerous looting that impacted Samsung warehouses and stores in July following South African riots. Samsung Electronics warehouse in KwaZulu-Natal was pillaged, while the Durban plant has remained intact due to enhanced security features. In other words, lots of guys with guns. According to the vendor, the TV Block feature could remotely disable a device by using its serial number. This means that TV sets stolen during looting cannot be used. The revelation is disconcerting. In a theoretical attack scenario, a threat actor could compromise the company's servers and block any device worldwide. A TV is blocked immediately after its first connection to the internet because it attempts to contact the Samsung server that maintains a list of the serial numbers of the television that were stolen. Now, I wonder if you could maybe update your DNS routers or your router's DNS to change the location of Samsung server. Maybe that could bypass, but I'm just too lazy to test it. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has published a flash alert about a threat actor known as OnePercent Group that have been actively targeting U.S. organizations in ransomware attacks since at least November 2020. The alert includes tactics, techniques, and procedures, along with indicators of compromise related to the group. According to the alert, OnePercent Group actors compromise victims through a phishing email in which an attachment is opened by the user. The attachment's macros infect the system with the ICE ID banking Trojan. ICE ID downloads additional software to include Cobalt Strike. Cobalt Strike moves laterally in the network, primarily with PowerShell remoting. OnePercent Group actors encrypt the data and exfiltrate it from the victim systems. Actors contact the victims via telephone and email, threatening to release the stolen data through the Onion router network and ClearNet unless a ransom is paid in virtual currency. The flash alert also provides mitigation measures, including backup critical data offline, ensure administrators are not using admin approval mode, implement Microsoft LAPS if possible, ensure copies of critical data are in the cloud or on an external hard drive or storage device. This information should not be accessible from the compromised network. Secure your backups and ensure data is not accessible for modification or deletion from the system where the original data resides. Keep computers, devices, and applications patched and up to date. Consider adding an email banner to emails received from outside your organization. Disable unused remote access desktop protocol ports and monitor remote access RDP logs. Audit user accounts with administrative privileges and configure access controls with least privilege in mind. And then implement network segmentation. Use multi-factor authentication with strong passphases. These 4 rising gangs could be your next major cybersecurity threat. You will most likely hear more and more about these 4 up-and-coming ransomware gangs. One of these is Lockbit 2.0, a ransomware as a service operator that has existed since September 2019 but has gained major traction over the course of the summer. According to researchers, Lockbit has compromised 52 organizations around the world since June. Perhaps most notably, criminals using Lockbit compromised Accenture, although the company was able to restore from backups without needing to pay a ransom. Second on the list is Avoslocker ransomware, which first appeared in July and offers a ransomware as a service scheme that includes the operators taking care of negotiating ransoms. The group has compromised several organizations around the world, including law firms in the United States and the United Kingdom. Another new player in the ransomware market is Hive ransomware, which was first seen infecting organizations in June 2021. The attackers behind it also leveraged stolen data and double extortion to coerce victims into paying the ransom. And if you recall, a few minutes ago we were just talking about Hive. In total, Hive has so far claimed 28 victims, including healthcare providers, and attacks that have the potential to disrupt patient care. This sort of cavalier attitude to the well-being of the general public could make Hive a dangerous ransomware threat. The 4th emerging threat actor detailed by researchers is a twist on an existing form of ransomware. Hello Kitty ransomware first appeared in December 2020 and primarily targeted Windows systems. Now, researchers have identified a new version of Hello Kitty that targets Linux systems, opening a whole new platform for cybercriminals to target. Now, the rise of these ransomware groups just goes to show that even as established groups seemingly disappear, new players rise to take their place. Many of these will adopt the tactics and techniques of successful ransomware outfits that came before them to make attacks as effective as possible. A computer glitch in a secretive software program used by the FBI allowed some unauthorized employees to access private data for more than a year, prosecutors revealed in a new court filing. The screw-up in the Palantir program, a software created by the sprawling data analytics company co-founded by billionaire Peter Thiel, was detailed in a letter by prosecutors in the Manhattan federal court, the case against accused hacker Virgil Griffith. When data is loaded onto the Palantir platform, the default setting is to permit access to the data to other FBI personnel otherwise authorized to access the platform. The default should probably be private. But, because that's similar to like the Microsoft issue with the Azure Cosmos. They set the default to be public. Palantir's original clients were actually federal agencies of the USIC. It has since expanded its customer base to serve state and local governments as well as private companies in the financial and healthcare industries. A document leaked by TechCrunch, or leaked to TechCrunch, revealed that Palantir's clients as of 2013 included at least 12 groups within the U.S. government, including CIA, DHS, NSA, FBI, CDC, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, Special Operations Command, West Point, the Joint Improvised Threat Defeat Organization, and their allies, the Recovery, Accountability, and Transparency Board that was used in 2008 after the 2008 financial disaster, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now again, I did a daily episode on this with much more information, so to watch that, if you haven't already, of course, the link is above. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe and smash the bell, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.